Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. Today's guest is a marketer who doesn't believe in guessing, hoping, or spray and pray advertising. John Dwyer, JD, is the mastermind behind some of the most successful direct response campaigns in Australia, including the iconic promotion that brought Jerry Seinfeld into the world of banking ads and shattered sales records in the process. JD's core belief: marketing exists to make the cash register ring, period. And he spent his career proving that even the smallest businesses can compete if they understand how to use incentives, problem solution messaging, and what he calls the wow factor. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on how small and medium-sized businesses can stop wasting money, start standing out, and create the kind of offers that customers can't ignore. JD, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Reed. That guy sounds pretty important. I want to listen to him.
Oh, absolutely. We're excited to dive right in. So tell us, for listeners that are listening for the first time, describe what you do and what problems you are typically solving for the businesses you work with.
Well, Reed, I guess the best way to explain what we do is direct response marketing. It's very different from just normal regular marketing. I mean, if you are going to an advertising agency, normally they will say, look, we'll help you get people to fall in love with your brand so that they'll taste your product. What direct marketing does is that it flips that model, and what we do is try and get them to taste your product so that they'll fall in love with your brand. And the best way to explain that would be if you were a seafood shop, instead of sponsoring the local basketball teams and the gridiron teams and so forth, and hoping. I love that phrase that you said in the beginning. It's spray and play. Is that it?
Spray and pray.
It's spray and pray. Instead of doing that, whereby nothing wrong with throwing some money at the local basketball and netball competitions, but by the same token, that's not measurable. What we would say to that seafood shop: look, why don't you hand out calamari samples at lunchtime and dinner time with some staff, hoping that people would taste test that and then come into the seafood shop and spend more money on the expensive fish. And so, the thing is that most of the small and medium-sized businesses cannot sponsor the Olympics, and they, would not be able to afford to put their face on the side of a bus or the back of a taxi. And all of that stuff is immeasurable in any case. So just leave that to McDonald's and Nike. And what we say to small business owners is that make sure that, what you're spending today, whether it be on Facebook or whether it be a letterbox brochure, whatever it may be, make sure that it's measurable tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fantastic. So do you've worked with small and medium-sized businesses, large businesses like I saw McDonald's and KFC and 7-Eleven. Are there patterns between the two? Obviously, budgets are vastly different for marketing, but are there certain threads that carry through both categories of businesses?
Yeah, there is. The thing is, it's pretty much the same formula, whether it happens to be the local, corner grocery store or whether it happens to be McDonald's. Direct response marketing really is, as that name infers, it's about getting a result very quickly. I've never had a client yet, whether it be McDonald's or the local store, that's knocked on my door and said, oh, John, can you increase our revenue and take your time? We're not really in a hurry.
Right.
Most of the people who knock on our door, they want to be advertising on Facebook today and getting a result tomorrow. And I guess the best way to explain it would be solutions. I mean, there's 5 components of direct response. Number 1, you tell people what their problem is, and that might be, look, are you overweight? Number 2, you aggravate that problem. So therefore you say, look, you realize the summer's around the corner. Do you want to look good in your swimsuit? Number 3, you provide the solution, which in that instance would be a dietary program. Number 4, you provide proof, which generally is testimonials. And then number 5 is a strong CTA, call to action. And that normally is come on the program now, and you will not only, be able to hopefully lose weight, but we're going to give you a free dining voucher at a healthy restaurant or whatever it may be. And all of that, if you bring that back to just 2 words, is problem, solution. Highlight their problem and give them a solution.
So I assume that there's some lessons from the school of hard knocks that got you here. I mean, I'm implying this or inferring this, that you probably had to learn or go down some wrong roads to arrive at this point, because what you're describing sounds very sensible and intuitive about direct marketing or direct response marketing. How did you get there? Maybe what are some of the dead ends you hit?
Yeah, well, look, Reed, I'm very lucky because I've never made a mistake in my life. And if I'm doing a seminar or convention And if my wife's down the back, she rolls her eyes because she knows what the tagline of that's going to be. Where I say, look, I don't know how you people can live with making mistakes. I've never made a mistake. And then I stop and go, oh, look, fair enough. In 1982, I did make a mistake, but the mistake I made was I thought I had made a mistake. So, boom, boom, dad jokes. Yeah, look, I've made every mistake you could possibly make. And
Yes.
we've had our roller coaster ride like all entrepreneurs. And so, therefore, it has not been a merry-go-round. And my wife, of course, yeah, I don't think she used to bite her nails until she married me. And we've got 6 millennial children. So therefore, there was myself, my wife, and 6 kids at one stage under 12 many years ago. So there were 8 people that we had to feed. And my wife was silly enough to marry an entrepreneur. She's nuts. I guess the big mistakes that I made back in the early days when I went out on my own to become a marketing agency is that I didn't understand direct response at the time. So, I thought that if I had a ski shop, as in ski with snow, that if I came up with a clever tagline, which was, wait for it, it was called Inski, Inski, and I was 23 or 24 years of age. And I thought I came up with the best advertising campaign ever. It was Inski, the place to go before the snow. And I wondered why there wasn't a stampede of people coming through the door. So, yes, I was sickeningly bad. And so, therefore, when I was picking up a few of these clients, giving them what I thought was good advertising advice, but what it was branding advice, what I didn't realize is that the vast majority of them did not have a McDonald's budget. They couldn't afford to, do the brand building thing. They needed to put food on the table pretty quickly. And I always tell the story now is that if anyone in small business still lives on that branding sort of philosophy, go home tonight and say to all the kids around the table who are hungry, look, Daddy got 152 likes today, but Dad, there's nothing to eat, right? Yeah. So these days we've got a concept. I found that small and medium-sized businesses don't want advice. Okay, so I discovered that a few years back and realised that they don't have a marketing department. They don't have anyone who can implement these, great ideas that I give them. And I'm being sarcastic when I say great ideas. But the thing is that I can give them whatever, ideas I want, but they don't have anyone to implement them. So I thought, well, no, this is silly. What small to medium-sized businesses want is a system, a formula. They want something that's done for them. So that's what we do now. We provide, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or whether it be, even old school, newspaper, TV campaigns, we actually just give it to them and they pay a success fee, if you like, and they walk away with something that's all packaged.
That's fantastic and probably exactly what small business owners want. I've been in the room with large businesses and they love to joust and debate and talk about concepts and philosophies, and small business owners don't have any time for that. They want the problem solution framework. So I love the way you phrase that you cut right from the problem to the solution. I think that's something that all business managers can understand. Do you have any, besides your personal example, do you have any other examples of businesses that made that shift, that kind of they were stuck in the brand part of it and shifted to the problem solution framework and saw some success?
Look, there's lots of them, because when you get into the convention speaking game or seminar speaking game, you are in front of 50 or 150 business owners, and when you come off stage, whether it be a cup of coffee or a beer after your song and dance show, a whole bunch of people come up and go, look, it sounds ridiculous, but hallelujah, I've seen the light, and they will talk about, the advertising consultant who's just taken quite a bit of money from them and got them to sponsor the local football teams or basketball teams. And they did put their face on the back of a taxi, and they did throw money at sponsorship and all of this stuff that's immeasurable. And then I tell them, well, how about we, do something that's really quick in terms of, getting results. We have a program which we call the contestleadsmachine.com. And basically what we do is that we say to the business, look, give away your product or service as a prize on Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform you want. And whoever enters that contest obviously wants your product. And so therefore you give one away, but you've got 99.9% of all the other entrants that you can ring up and say, look, you didn't win. A classic example is a dentist a couple of months ago said to us, look, I want to sell more Invisalign braces. Yeah. And we said, oh, okay, fair enough. What are they worth? And he said, right, well, with $5,000-6,000 and I get them for half of that. And it's really easy money. But we're after rich parents who've got children with crooked teeth. So that's what we do. We tell Facebook, look, we just want to go into the upmarket suburbs. And we ran a contest, win Invisalign braces for your children. He spent just $30 a day, got 1,000 leads in the first week.
Wow.
We're not talking 12. I mean, I know that if anybody's listening to this, they won't see this, but the book I'm holding up to the camera at the moment is the book that you have to write when you go out and do the seminar circuit.
Yeah.
And mine is the avalanche leads formula. So we're all about leads, because if you can't convert, then I think you should probably just give up your business and go and get a job.
Yeah. Right.
No one can. And so what happens is that, yeah, this dentist, his head exploded, of course, because at $30 a day over 7 days, so he spent $200 and got 991 leads.
Wow.
So he gives one Invisalign braces away, but he's got 990 other parents who are not only rich because we targeted those zip codes, but they've put their hand in the air and said, take my money, my child's got crooked teeth.
Wow. That's brilliant.
And we've done that for industry after industry after industry. And yeah, it works every time, whether it's a lawn mowing company that gives away, 1 month's worth of lawn mowing. Obviously, whoever enters that is not living in an apartment. A dog food company just recently, and it was, a reasonable size business doing about 18 million. And we said, okay, well, we'll give away 6 months worth of dog food. Once again, for about $30 a day, they got over 1,000 leads in that first month. We're talking a week.
Wow.
And so we're talking avalanche leads. And then what happens is that if indeed they can't get to ringing these people up and contacting them, because a lot of businesses don't have a telemarketing division, then we put an AI robot onto the outbound. And so the AI robot rings the people and say, look, you didn't win the 6 months worth of dog food, but obviously you've got a dog, because if you don't, then you're pretty weird. And we have a special deal at the moment on a subscription program for our dog food.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I love it. That seems like a very strong offering. Now, I want to jump to another topic, something you've referred to in your seminars and others, incentive-based marketing. Tell us a little bit about what it is and why is that particularly effective getting attention? And
Look,
what's the psychology here?
whoever might be listening or watching this, if there's anything you take away from this interview, then it would be consider incentives, because 97% of the world's businesses have never run an incentive. It's too easy for them to drop their pants, as in drop their prices, lose margin. And of course, when you do drop your price too often, then of course it's going to ultimately affect your brand. There's nothing wrong with having the mid-year sale and the Boxing Day sale, but if you do that too often, then of course you're going to be renowned for that.
Mm-hmm.
And incentive-based marketing, really the best way to explain how powerful that is McDonald's Happy Meal toy. I'm the father of 6 children. They're all grown up now, and a few of them with their own little children. But when I gave McDonald's, I think, $7.4 gazillion because of that damn toy. And, it's just one of those things whereby McDonald's have mastered the Happy Meal toy incentive, because, they put a toy in the box that appeals to children, and children, of course, are the decision makers when it comes to what the parents buy. And, I grew up in the era where it was Flintstones toys in the Kellogg's Cornflakes box, and, nothing's really changed.
Yeah.
Amazon have their own Prime Club, so therefore, if you become a member of the Prime Club, then you get free shipping and free movies and all sorts of other privileges. The little coffee shop down the road probably has a reward program. When you get a coffee, you get a stamp, and you save 10 stamps on your little loyalty card, and you get a free coffee. So if you're not doing it, then you should think about an incentive. A good example is we had a turf farm, as in selling grass, okay, for your front yard and your backyard. He said to me, look, what could we do? And I said, look, why don't you actually, give away cartons of beer? So when a landscaper who can get the grass, and grass is like, really, if you buy your turf from one farm, it's no different from the grass from the other farm. So the only differential is price. So I said, well, why don't you take price away from it and say to all the landscapers, which was his target audience, you buy your grass from us and we'll give you a free carton of beer for every home's worth of grass. He had 2 miles worth of grass go within 5 days.
Wow.
He rang me up and said, look, we've got a problem. He said that we got no more grass, because he had about 1.8 miles worth of grass that he had planted on the turf farm.
Mm-hmm.
And when we set out the direct mail campaign, because landscapers are somewhat technophobes, you can contact them by email maybe, but we sent out a letter to all of them with a brochure and said, look, for every home's worth of grass, you get a carton of beer. It was so ridiculously successful that a guy who was the biggest pain in the backside to him for the 6 months earlier, who would always say, oh, you're charging $5, per square yard, per square metre, I can get it for $4.80 down the road. He rang up, didn't ask about the price. He just said, I need 18 homes worth of grass. I don't care when the grass gets here, but I need the beer by Friday. I've got a part.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's like, it's a business you don't think about, but you obviously, like that's a service and a product that people really need. That's pretty unique.
It's got to be a good message to market match. Like I'm a baby boomer, so if I walked into a menswear store and bought a sports jacket and the
Yeah.
guy gave me a skateboard, then he's nuts because I'm not going to use a skateboard. It won't turn me on.
Right.
But if he gave me a movie voucher or a dining voucher, then that would be a different story. So you've got to make sure that whatever your incentive is, that it's a good message to market. And you're leading me into, of course, me boasting that probably the most successful incentive-based marketing campaign that I've ever been involved in over the 3,000 years that I've been doing this is one for an Australian bank. It was a building society, but the same thing. And we decided to take their eyes off the interest rate. And I was a consultant to this bank, and they said, what should we do? And I said, look, you're the 250th biggest business in Australia, but you're not as big as the Wells Fargo or the Bank of America's, that you're just not. And so therefore you're a challenger brand. And they said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, if you're not the 40-ton gorilla, if you're not the Coca-Cola of your business, you need to challenge whoever is. And they said, well, what do we do? I said, well, you stop advertising on home loan interest rates, because if you're 7%, they're going to be 6.8% within 5 minutes. You're never going to win that. It'd be like a little corner store trying to take on Costco. It's not going to work, right? So that's what we did. I was doing some TV commercials for a travel discount company at the time. I introduced them. And what we did is that we got rid of the 1% honeymoon rate, because if you're familiar with home loans, then the first year, most banks will give you a 1% break and then it goes back up again. Yeah. And so we used that and gave that to the travel company. So therefore it was cost neutral. And we came on TV and social media and we said, get a home loan and get a free vacation. They took an extra 15 billion, not million, billion dollars worth of home loans within the first couple of years. And this idiot who you're talking to, that's me, did not do a percentage deal. I took a consultancy fee. So I am a complete moron. And then about 3 years into the promotion, I got Jerry Seinfeld to do the advertising. So I'm showing off about that for about the last 10 years, of course, but I think so would anyone. So I'd go backwards and forth to New York, and Jerry would stand outside a mock-up of this particular bank and do stand-up. And basically he would say to everybody, look, swap your home loan from the Bank of America or from, Wells Fargo across to this one and you will get a free vacation. And it just went to another level. So not only was it successful for the first 3 years, when we got Jerry involved in it thereafter, it just went through the roof.
That's amazing. Yeah, Jerry, that must have been fun. Did you have direct contact with him?
Yeah, no, we had to go backwards and forwards quite a bit. He's a bit of a perfectionist, and that's fair enough. That he's a big TV star. And look, he's just a down-to-earth guy. He was lovely. And I asked him a number of times, "But why did you say yes to this?" Because he got more money than God. And he just said, look, you asked me to take the mickey out of, and he said, no, I've had a career of taking the mickey out of things. I thought it'd be good fun. Yeah.
Wow. No, this is super interesting. So, JD, we covered a lot. I guess just in kind of as a takeaway, what would you say are some of the simplest, every business is different, of course, different services, different products, different locations, different characteristics. But what would you say are some simple things that a small business could do to generate wow factor today? If that was just like one takeaway they had, what would you suggest?
I can give you two, and the reason I can roll with the punches here, Reed, is because obviously if you're doing a few of these podcasts, you get that sort of question quite often towards the end of the interview. Yeah. And I think, everybody, no matter what business you're in, is looking for the odd quick win, because it's fine to, go to your accountant and the accountant says, look, slow and steady wins the race. And, what you can do is build up your brand and eventually they'll come and blah, 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 blah. But, I'm sure I speak for 95% of us. And that is that, look, can you give me something that I know you can't guarantee it, but it's almost guaranteed. So I'll give you two ideas. Number one, out of all of the incentives that I've used throughout the year, the one that blew me away, that is the most powerful incentive on the planet, is definitely the free vacation. No question about that. And the reason for that is that it appeals to a 25-year-old or an 85-year-old, and it appeals to men and women. And what happened as a result of the Seinfeld thing, you can't keep that a secret. About 6 months before COVID, I got a call from a travel company. And they said, listen, we've got access to unsold rooms in Las Vegas and New York and Orlando and San Diego and you name it, right around America, right around the world. But we're not a marketing company. And these hotels are happy to give up their rooms in the hope that whoever stays there will spend money on food and beverage. And I said, go on. And they said, well, you look like you've got half a clue when it comes to marketing. We've seen your Seinfeld stuff. Would you like to join forces and pay us a royalty fee? And you actually market this to small to medium-sized businesses as the way that they can combat the 40-ton gorilla. So I said, yeah, sure. And so that's what we did. 6 months out from COVID, we launched this, and it is rocket fuel. Basically, we gave businesses a voucher, and I know that if people are listening, they're not looking at this, but if you're watching this on a video, you'll see I'm holding up a voucher that's a quarto size. And basically, they use this as a Happy Meal toy to attract customers. So they will say, we give them $1,000 vacation for $50, which is just ridiculous, but we can do that because keep in mind, the inventory of the hotel rooms comes free. Yeah. So the hotels are happy to give us the rooms for free. So whatever we market them for, obviously, is our margin. We've got to pay for our overheads and everything else. But the hotel is hoping whoever comes and stays in that Vegas or Orlando or New York hotel for 3 nights will probably spend money on food and beverage. And so this is outside of school vacation period. Obviously, they don't have any empty rooms then. So this is all based on unsold rooms. Right. It is rocket fuel. And no surprise to me because obviously when we had the Seinfeld bank campaign, that's what this was all about. Swap your home loan from the Bank of America and we'll give you a free vacation. Been providing this as a sales stimulus to businesses for, we had to sit on our hands for obviously a couple of years when COVID came along. But basically, no matter what business you're in, whether it's, lawn mowing or whether it happens to be a furniture business or it happens to be solar, you simply say, look, buy my product or service and we'll give you a free 3-night vacation throughout America at all the hotspots. And that goes nuts.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And by the way, if anyone wants to have a look at it, and if you don't mind me pushing my they will get a special deal when they go to this page. They'll see it's $97 a voucher, but we give it to people from podcasts for half that. Just go to vacationsincentive.com, vacations with a plural, so that's vacationsincentive.com. And the other one that I would just round off with, I know you're running out of time, so the other one would be the contestleadsmachine.com. If you want to go to contestleadsmachine.com, you'll see how that works, whereby you actually give away your product or service as the prize. And of course, whoever enters that is just glowed in the dark that they're interested in your product or service.
Fantastic. So, I think you answered the next question I was going to ask. Where can users, listeners find you if they are interested in working with you? Are any other places? Are you regularly featured on?
Normally wanted posters inside police stations. I'm on the wanted poster for being the most annoying marketing guy in the world. Yeah, look, if anyone wants to just grab ideas for free, you don't have to give me anything for it. We have a case study page on our website that if you go on there, you could be there for, many, many hours. So if you just go to our website, which is theinstituteofwow.com, and if you go up to the menu bar, you'll see me showing off about Seinfeld and all sorts of stuff on the page. So you'll just have to put up with that. But if you go to the menu bar up the top, it says there's a case studies page. And if you go to that case studies page, make yourself a cup of coffee or grab a beer or wine because you could be there for a couple of hours. It just goes on and on and on. I believe that you can normally predict his future if you have a look at their past. And so therefore, if you're looking for a good landscaper, have a look at what they've done in the past. If you're looking for a good kitchen renovator, have a look at what they've done in the past. And so living by that philosophy, then I made sure that I never threw anything out. All the case studies that we've had over the 1,000 years I've been doing this, we digitized all of them. The ones that didn't work, I didn't make the website, all right? But all the ones that worked, basically goes on and on and on. So grab yourself a beer or coffee and you can just swipe any of those ideas with my blessing.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, John. And this has been a really fun conversation. No sarcasm from my side. I really enjoyed this. This was great. And so please reach out at the Institute of Wow or the other links that you mentioned. I will include those in the show notes. And I really enjoyed getting to know you, and hopefully this will generate some additional wow for a lot of people. So thanks so much.
Reed, I thought what you're going to do is round up then and use one of my gags and then say, look, John, I'd like to say that this has been one of our best interviews. And then, of course, I go, well, thank you. And they're going to know, I'd like to say that I can't.
Yeah, exactly. I would never do that to you.
It's funny. I don't got to wind up, but whenever I'm doing TV commercials for any of these people, or these days, of course, it's Facebook commercials, if we're using the owner of the business to actually represent the business and do the video, at the end of it, and most of them are hopeless. Most of them are just not used to being in front of a camera, of course. So, it's sort of like take 25, take 26. And at the end of it, eventually, when we get a good take, I will say to them, look, I'd like to say that was the best performance I've ever seen. And they think I'm serious. And they go, oh, thank you very much, JD. And I go, no, I'd like to say that I can't. You were awful.
I'd like to say. But that was just the most recent take. Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, JD.
All the best.
We'll see you.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.